You! No! You! I'm you!
Damn it! Where in the hell am I? I know one of those tricks is going to do my intro! Damn it!
Well, it would seem we can't find Rosie. But the show must go on. Hello, my name is Bella, and aside from my other hijinks, I'd like to introduce you to what the Phantom Texter has done now. We've all been misunderstood in life. There is no universal language for any of us. The Phantom Texter thought on this, and you may say, he snapped. This video will come in 3 parts, and I'll make sure he puts timestamps in the description. Stay on your guard, because the title is not accidental. This is a piece of unintelligible profanity.
Dat boy ain't right. It would seem, dear class, that Cletus Cadiddlehopper has written a poem which he wishes me to read to the class. I had the codex. I knew what to say, and I said it. But it was too plain to the ears of the jackalopes. Hot giggle snort of inefficient communication. Yet another ram-fisted bureaucratic waste of parchment. If I were to pull the eyelashes from the anus of my disbelief, I would sparsely believe the pearl beads it would expose. What a slap on the hyena ass of life. What acorn of idiots fell from this oak tree of abstinence? Why can't you take my hand and twist it into the understanding of my words? Or is it just your digit of a private member that holds you back from your climax? You fancy yourself a wordsmith, but yet the meaning of my prose slipped through the wet fart of your awareness. Why can't you compute this distillery of urine that refuses to flush? I speak the Queen's English. The Lord of Webster has kicked this turd on a page or 2. My nouns and pronouns are superimposed over the crotch of what I'm trying to say. Why can't you slap the dog on his hindquarters and get this wagon train in the ditch? I know 10,000 ways to cook a biscuit. I know 100 ways to snatch a bandersnatch. Yet every time I talk to you, I can't smack the nappy-headed of crab-infested enlightenment. Is it me? Is there something wrong with the way my tongue phrases the clit? That cannot be the full scrotum of the problem. Some of this must be laid at the feet of your androgynous zones. I cannot be the only one who cannot confront the G-spot. After all, wasn't it I who slapped the bitch in the cold? Surely you remember the finger. Was it that long ago that I pissed your name in the snow? No, I didn't take a squat and defecate in the middle of your vomit. So don't tell me now that you can't comprehend the shit. A codex. A codex! My kingdom for a codex. Let's part as friends, and beware the pilgrims, for they bring the dialect of fools. Thank you, Mr. Kadiddlehopper, for this writing. And for this, I went to Oxford.
And of course you didn't think the Phantom was going to leave it at that, did you? Why would he ever do that? Take a moment and watch this rather unhinged operatic music video that the texter went through the trouble of crafting. All I can say is, I'm glad I wasn't in it.
I had the codex, I knew what to say, and I said it. But it was too plain to the ears of the jackalopes. Hot giggles north of inefficient communication. Yet another ram-fisted bureaucratic waste of parchment. If I were to pull the eyelashes from the anus of my disbelief, I would sparsely believe the pearl beads it would expose. What a slap on the hyena ass of life! What acorn of idiots fell from this oak tree of obstinance?
Why can't you take my hand and twist it into the understanding of my words?
Or is it just your digit of a private member that holds you back from your climax? You fancy yourself a wordsmith,
But yet the meaning of my prose slipped through the wet fart of your awareness.
why can't you compute this distillery of urine that refuses flush? I speak the Queen's English.
The Lord of Webster has kicked this turd on a page or two.
My nouns and pronouns are superimposed
Over the crotch of what I'm trying to say.
Why can't you slap the dog on his hindquarters and get this wagon train in the ditch? I know 10,000 ways to cook a biscuit.
I know 100 ways to snatch a bandersnatch.
Yet every time
I talk to you, I can't smack the nappy head of crab-infested enlightenment.
Is it me?
Is there something wrong with the way my tongue phrases the clit?
That cannot be the full scrotum of the problems.
Some of this must be laid at the feet of your androgynous zones.
I cannot be the only one who cannot conference the G-spot.
After all, wasn't it?
I who slapped the bitch in the cold.
Surely you remember the finger.
Was it that long ago that I pissed your name in the snow?
No, I didn't take a squat and defecate in the middle of your vomit.
So don't tell me now you can't comprehend the shit.
A codex, my kingdom for a codex.
Let's part as friends and beware the pilgrims, for they bring the dialect of fools.
Look, I'm never going to get out of these hills, so the least I can do is introduce the Google Notebook's deep dive into what the texter has presented thus far. If you made it this far, I think you'll find this interesting. And if you're religious, please say a prayer that I make it out of these hills. Before I get snatched up by that bear that we ladies are always choosing. Be safe, be well, and be found.
You know that feeling when you try to communicate something perfectly clearly?
Oh, yeah.
Like you've chosen your words with absolute precision, you deliver them, and the other person just looks at you like you are literally speaking Martian.
Right. I mean, it's a very specific kind of isolation. In psychology, there's actually a concept for this. It's called the illusion of transparency.
The illusion of transparency. Okay, what is that?
Well, it's this cognitive bias where we totally overestimate how well other people can read our internal state. You know, we think our meaning is just radiating out of us.
Right, like it's super obvious.
Exactly. But to the listener, we are essentially just making abstract noises.
Wow, okay. Well, that illusion of transparency is actually the perfect lens for what we're getting into today.
Yeah, it really is.
We are stepping into the bizarre, multi-layered mind of an author known as James Ray the Phantom Texter, which I just love that name.
It's a great moniker.
He has the self-proclaimed tagline, corrupting the minds and AI since 1966. And today for our deep dive, we are examining his screenplay and poem titled Unintelligible Profanity.
Along with his behind-the-scenes author notes, right?
Yes, exactly. The notes he titled Linguistic Befuelment, which is just perfectly spelled to be a little chaotic.
Completely intentional, I'm sure.
Right. And the overarching theme here is this deep dive into human-to-human communication. It's really exploring that desperate attempt to transmit raw emotion through words that just seem completely unintelligible.
And, our agonizing need for a codex just to understand one another.
Yes, codex. Okay, let's unpack this, because the term codex is the anchor for his entire philosophy here.
Right. So historically, a codex is an ancient manuscript, a foundational text used to decipher a language or like a set of laws.
Right, the Rosetta Stone kind of thing.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
And in this context, it's the emotional translation key that two people absolutely need to actually comprehend each other's reality.
Which is so crucial, because the way this piece came to our attention is just fascinating. The Phantom Texter deliberately fed this incredibly complex, like emotionally raw piece of writing into a Google Notebook AI.
Just to see what it would do.
Exactly. Just to watch it, quote, pontificate.
Yeah.
And for anyone unfamiliar, tools like Google Notebook are essentially just super-powered research assistants.
Right. You feed them documents, and they use large language models to synthesize the information, find logical patterns, and then generate a really clean, structured summary.
Right. Which is precisely why feeding this specific text to that kind of machine is such an ingenious stress test.
Oh, absolutely. Because large language models operate purely on probability and logic. They literally just predict the next most logical word based on syntax and structure.
Right. It's all math to them.
Exactly. But the Phantom Texter script is, well, it's a monument to human emotional logic. It is fundamentally about the breakdown of structure.
I mean, he literally wanted to see a hyperlogical machine try to parse the absolute messiness of human frustration.
And did it work?
Well, he notes that while the AI got close, it ultimately just proved his point, which is that true understanding requires a human touch. He actually wrote, that's what you get sometimes when you send an AI to do a man's job.
That's hilarious.
So,
But we should point out, he is very careful to emphasize that the script itself is not about human and AI communication.
Right, not at all.
It is basically a mirror held up to how humans fail to communicate with other humans. He is just using the limitations of an artificial intelligence as his baseline,
To expose the same mechanical failures in our own interpersonal relationships.
Exactly. Because when we talk to each other without a shared codex, we might as well be two incompatible operating systems trying to share a corrupted file.
That is such a good way to put it. Okay, so to understand how he builds that argument, we have to look at the incredibly jarring way he sets the stage.
Oh yeah, the opening is wild.
It really is. The screenplay opens by actively refusing to let the viewer get comfortable. Like, it starts with the author's own logo malfunctioning, breaking into these unintelligible, censored dialogue balloons.
Which right away tells you, hey, language is broken here.
Exactly. Then we see a spokesperson named Rosie. She is supposed to introduce the piece, but she is completely lost on a muddy mountain road in the misty Appalachian Mountains of Virginia.
Just frantically looking at a map, right?
Yes, she's frantic, yelling about how she doesn't know where she is, and complaining that one of the other characters is going to have to do her intro because she's stuck in the mud.
I mean, think about the psychological effect of starting a narrative this way.
It's totally disorienting.
Right. The author is dismantling the infrastructure of storytelling before the story even begins. The spokesperson, who is the literal vehicle for communication, is hopelessly lost.
And her map is useless.
Completely useless. The map is a tool for orientation, but she can't use it because the environment is totally obscured by fog.
Right. So the baton is passed to another character, Bella, who is standing outside this 1930s Appalachian schoolhouse. She has to introduce the video instead.
And she gives a pretty stark warning, doesn't she?
She really does. She says we've all been misunderstood in life, and she asserts that there is no universal language. And then she literally tells us that the phantom texter may have finally, quote, snapped.
Wow. See, she is demanding that you, the viewer, abandon your expectations for a clean, linear message.
Right, like don't expect this to make easy sense.
Exactly. If there is no universal language, then you cannot rely on your standard methods of decoding information. You're on your own.
Which leads us perfectly inside that 1930s schoolhouse for a scene that I am genuinely just stuck on.
The classroom scene, it's so good.
It's so weird. So we have this stark visual contrast. At the front of the room is a nondescript Oxford-educated professor. Like, very academic.
Right.
And sitting at the desks is a class of Appalachian locals, and they're dressed in traditional bib overalls and plaid shirts. But the professor isn't trying to teach them King's English.
No, which is what you'd expect.
Right. He is standing at the chalkboard, completely exasperated, trying to teach these locals how to speak their own dialect.
It's such a surreal image.
He's pointing to the phrase on the board, "Dat boy ain't right," and the locals are just utterly bewildered. And I have to admit, I don't fully grasp the mechanics here.
What do you mean?
Well, if he is speaking their exact regional dialect, why wouldn't they understand him? Is the author saying that formal education actually makes us worse at communicating?
Ah, okay. What's fascinating here is that it requires looking at the difference between semantics and pragmatics in linguistics.
Okay, lay that out for me.
So semantics is the literal dictionary definition of words, right? Like what the word technically means.
Okay.
But pragmatics is the meaning those words take on in a specific social, cultural, or emotional context.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so the Oxford professor has mastered the semantics of the Appalachian dialect. He has the syntax perfectly mapped out on the chalkboard, but he possesses zero pragmatics.
Wow. So because the cultural context is totally missing, the words themselves literally become meaningless to the locals.
Right, exactly. When a highly educated academic in a suit delivers regional slang, the delivery mechanism destroys the message.
Right. It just doesn't compute.
The locals aren't confused by the words themselves. They are confused by the entire conceptual framework of the interaction. Like, why is this guy saying this to us?
And that's why the professor laments, and for this I went to Oxford.
Yes. He realizes that all his academic pedigree and mastery of syntax are completely useless because he doesn't share a cultural codex with the people in the room.
That makes the fish and the PowerPoint analogy I was thinking of earlier makes so much more sense.
Oh, the mansplaining analogy. Let's hear it.
Yeah, it's like trying to teach a fish how to swim by aggressively pointing at a corporate PowerPoint presentation.
Right.
Like the fish already knows how to swim, but it has no conceptual framework for what a PowerPoint is or why a human in a suit is tapping a laser pointer at a screen underwater. The medium itself is so alien that the message is just completely lost.
That is a perfect analogy. The medium becomes a barrier rather than a bridge. And that classroom frustration, that total absolute failure of pragmatics, is really the launching pad for the core text of this deep dive.
Yeah, because in the middle of this exasperation, a local student named Cletus Cadiddlehopper hands the professor a letter to read.
And this is where things get really intense.
Totally. This letter is a poem titled Unintelligible Profanity. The professor starts reading it, and it is just a barrage of wild, visceral, crude imagery.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is.
Yeah.
The narrator complains that his attempts at communication are a, quote, hot giggle snort of inefficient communication.
A hot giggle snort.
Yeah, and then he says, if I were to pull the eyelashes from the anus of my disbelief, I would sparsely believe the pearl beads it would expose.
I mean, the syntax is incredibly abrasive by design.
It escalates from there, too. He asks why the recipient can't compute this distillery of urine that refuses flush.
So vivid.
Right. And he insists, proudly, I speak the Queen's English. The Lord of Webster has kicked this turd on a page or two. He's claiming his vocabulary is perfectly valid, yet he complains that his nouns and pronouns are superimposed over the crotch of what I'm trying to say.
Wow.
Now, I have to push back here for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because when I first read this, it honestly just felt like an edgy teenager got hold of a thesaurus and a dirty joke book and threw them in a blender.
That is a very common first reaction.
Right, like how does talking about the wet fart of your awareness or knowing 100 ways to snatch a bandersnatch qualify as a profound study in human emotion? It feels like chaos just for the sake of being provocative.
Well, see, that reaction feeling, completely repelled by the chaos, is fully anticipated by the phantom texter.
Really, he wants us to be repelled.
Yes. In his notes for linguistic befolement, he explicitly states, "This is not meant to be romantic or pleasant. It is a study in how to be completely unintelligible while still transmitting raw emotion."
But how does the profanity help transmit emotion?
Think of it as deliberate signal jamming.
Signal jamming.
Yeah.
Like with the radio.
Exactly. When you use polite, standard language during a deeply emotional crisis, the listener often just focuses on the literal definitions of the words, right? They parse the logic, and they totally miss the underlying pain.
Oh, I've definitely been in arguments like that, where you're arguing about the definition of a word instead of the actual issue.
Exactly. So by using the most anatomically bizarre, crude, and visually disturbing metaphors possible, the author is intentionally destroying the semantic value of the poem.
He's making it so you literally can't argue about the definitions.
Right. He is forcing you to abandon the dictionary definitions and instead feel the overwhelming, furious desperation of the speaker.
Wow, so the chaos is the point. He's basically saying, look, I am using the Queen's English, I am using words approved by Webster's dictionary, and you still don't get it. So he breaks the language entirely to show how broken the connection is.
And that desperation climaxes in this really tragic, almost Shakespearean parody near the end of the poem. He writes, a codex, my kingdom for a codex."
Oh, like Richard III.
Yes, exactly, echoing Richard III screaming for a horse when he realizes the battle is lost. The speaker here has lost the battle of communication.
Man, that's heavy.
It is. He is pouring his heart out, but because the listener lacks the emotional framework to receive it, the speaker's profound confession sounds like nothing more than a distillery of urine refusing to flush.
That actually brings it back to a very grounded, universally painful human experience.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been in a severe argument with someone you deeply care about, and you were trying every combination of words to explain your hurt.
And they just stare at you blankly.
Yes, you really do feel like you were screaming unintelligible profanity. The failure of language in those moments is almost traumatic.
Because it isolates you within your own mind. You're trapped.
Right?
And if we follow the phantom texter's logic, that linguistic isolation naturally manifests in physical reality, which is exactly where the screenplay takes us next.
Right, the transition from the audio track of miscommunication to the visual reality of it.
Yeah, the multiverse sequence.
Yes, we leave the schoolhouse, and Bella introduces what can only be described as an unhinged operatic music video.
It's so jarring.
We are suddenly transported to a formal opera stage, and a male singer is performing that crude, bizarre poem we just discussed, but he's singing it in a deeply somber, passionate, operatic style while literally clutching the physical codex in his hands.
The juxtaposition there is just striking. You have the highest form of classical art delivery paired with the absolute lowest brow, most profane terminology.
Right, it's so mismatched.
Which visually reinforces the idea of mismatched pragmatics and semantics from the classroom scene.
Meanwhile, the phantom texter inserts himself into the scene in disguise.
As the phantom captain, right.
Exactly, he looks like a pirate, sort of Jack Sparrow-esque. And he is watching this opera from a private, shadowy booth. And this initiates a running visual sequence where Bella repeatedly tries to make contact with this captain, but she is aggressively, physically blocked by other women across a multiverse of different settings.
And the settings are crucial here. It isn't just one room they are navigating. The rejection transcends time and space.
Let's track how this plays out because the environments become increasingly hostile as she goes. Right. First, they are in the opera house. The captain comes down to the stage, Bella approaches, but she is instantly blocked by his first mate, Eve. And Eve is breathing so heavily she's causing a literal gale wind.
Wow.
So Bella tries to find him backstage in his dressing room, But another mate, Abby, just gives her a withering look and slams the door in her face.
So we see social and physical barriers forming immediately.
And then the reality fractures completely. Suddenly, we are on 17th century pirate docks, and Bella is intercepted by a woman in black named Dee.
Okay.
Then we get to a beach where the captain is looking at a treasure chest. Bella approaches, but is stopped by Ares, who is a silver-skinned, cybernetic AI wearing a pirate blouse.
A cybernetic AI in a pirate blouse? That is wild.
I know, it's so specific. And then the grand finale jumps to a sci-fi future. The captain is on the bridge of a starship sitting in an ancient leather chair.
Naturally.
Bella makes a dash toward him, but the chief of security, Rave, simply places a hand on her sidearm. And the message across every single dimension is identical. Do not take another step.
What stands out to you about the mechanics of this sequence? Because to me, it goes far beyond just a character being kept away from a love interest.
Oh, absolutely. To me, it feels like a visual representation of being universally blocked by someone on every conceivable platform.
Like digitally blocked.
Yeah. Imagine getting into an argument, and you try to text them, but the bubble turns green. They blocked your number.
Right.
So you try Instagram, blocked. You try LinkedIn, email, Venmo. When you are blocked digitally, the infrastructure of the app literally prevents your data packets from reaching their server. Your message just bounces back.
It physically cannot be delivered.
Exactly. The physical blocking in this multiverse feels like those bounced data packets. The environment itself is engineered to reject the connection.
That is a phenomenal way to contextualize it. The routing protocol is just broken.
Completely broken.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the brilliant touch in the screenplay is that throughout all these chaotic reality jumps from the stage to the starship, that somber operatic performance of the crude poem continues playing unfazed in the background.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. The broadcast is happening loudly and clearly the entire time, but the reception is entirely shut down.
So the physical barriers mirror the linguistic barriers perfectly.
Exactly.
Just as perfectly chosen dictionary words fail to bridge the emotional gap without a shared codex, physical proximity and desperate effort fail to bridge the interpersonal gap.
Yeah.
Bella can cross dimensions, but she can't cross the final 3 feet between her and the captain because she doesn't have the clearance.
Right. The environment rejects her, just as the listener's mind rejects the speaker's profanity in the poem.
It's tragic, honestly.
It is. And the sequence concludes with an incredibly evocative image. The operatic performers finish their crescendo, they turn their backs on each other, and walk off the stage in opposite directions. The lights drop, leaving one single spotlight illuminating the codex on the floor.
And sitting on top of that codex is a glove of challenge.
Yes. It is the author throwing down the gauntlet. He is daring the audience to pick up that glove and attempt to decode the tangled mess of human connection that all the characters in the text fail to navigate.
Man, okay. So, synthesizing this entire journey, we have covered a lot of bizarre ground today.
We really have.
We started with a spokesperson lost in the muddy Appalachian mountains, watched an Oxford professor fail to teach locals their own dialect due to a total lack of cultural pragmatics.
Right, the semantics versus pragmatics.
Exactly. We analyzed a profoundly crude poem designed to jam our semantic signals, and finally watched a woman get systematically blocked across a sci-fi pirate multiverse.
It sounds insane when you list it all out like that.
It does. But at the center of all that chaos is a singular glowing truth about the human condition, which is that the assumption of understanding is the greatest enemy of actual communication.
Beautifully said. We walk around assuming our internal map makes sense to everyone else, but without a shared codex, we're essentially just yelling into the void.
It really makes you rethink how you operate in your daily life. Like the next time you are in a corporate meeting pitching an idea, or you're sitting on the couch trying to explain your feelings to your partner, and you are met with just a completely blank stare.
Which happens to all of us.
Right. Just remember the mechanics of what is happening. You might be using the right syntax, but you are lacking the shared emotional framework. You aren't alone in that frustration.
No, not at all.
Even the Phantom Texter, with all his elaborate artistry, admits his struggle to, quote, smack the nappy head of crab-infested enlightenment.
Which, again, requires immense patience. It requires acknowledging that the person across from you might be running on an entirely different emotional operating system. You cannot brute force a connection simply by speaking louder or using bigger words.
Right. You have to locate the codex first.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the final thought we want to leave you with today. At the very end of his desperate poem, the phantom texter writes these parting lines. Let's part as friends and beware the pilgrims, for they bring the dialect of fools.
Beware the pilgrims. You know, a pilgrim in this sense is someone traveling into a foreign land, just assuming their customs and language should be the default.
Which is such a powerful image. It challenges you to look at your own life, like who are the pilgrims in your world, wandering into your space and demanding that you understand their dialect without ever offering you a translation key.
But the more uncomfortable question, the one that really forces you to look in the mirror, is the flip side of that dynamic.
Right, because the self-reflection is where the real work happens. So think about this. How often are you the pilgrim in someone else's story? How often do you walk into someone else's reality, perfectly confident in your own map, completely unaware that you are speaking a language for which they simply do not possess the codex?
It's a sobering thought.
It really is. Are you standing there demanding to be understood, frustrated by their blank stares, while they are just looking back at you, wondering why on earth you are speaking Martian?